NBA midseason break is here. All-Star break is here. We're going to break it down with the inaugural Beyonds. Yes, it is award season, and we'll be doing it next on Beyond the Locker Room. Award season's in the air. Every time you look around, there's another award awards being shared out. So I decided, hey, why not have some fun this weekend? It's a slow weekend. The All-Star break's here. It's all about having a good time and having some fun. So we're going to have the first inaugural, well-established, well-respected Beyonds. Let me show you. It's an award that every player and coach covets. It is showing, in this case here, to be the pinnacle of excellence. And today, you will bear witness to the inaugural winners of the Beyonds. Now that that's all sorted out, let's break down what we're going to discuss today. 4 awards I'm going to give my winners to. I'll give 3 candidates. And the 4 awards we're looking at is Coach of the Year, Rookie of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, and of course, Most Valuable Player of the Year. And we'll go through, 3 candidates I've selected that I think are kind of merited, and give their rationales for each, and then give my answers on who I will give the Beyond to. So let's get started. Let's start with Coach of the Year. Let's get into that. Let's start with the ones that off the court, because let's face it. Coaches are coaches when it's all said and done. Sometimes they get too much blame, sometimes they get too much credit. But they are an important, integral part of the team. And Coach of the Year is always a fascinating discussion as well too. So, for the Coach of the Year right now, I'm looking at 3 candidates. I'm looking at JB Bickerstaff over there on my beloved Detroit Pistons. Mitch Johnson, I'm going to throw in here for the San Antonio Spurs, who's right now managed the team right now to a 2nd seed in the West. And, at the moment, I would look at, I would suggest at the moment, probably it's a toss-up. But I'm going to throw it, what the heck. Just because for you Raptor fans, I'll throw you a bone. Let's put Darko in here. Darko Rajakovic. Why not? Okay. So, I had someone else in mind, actually, but I say, what? I'll change it. So, for this one here, it's pretty obvious for a few things. Okay, let's go through the rationale for each. Let's start with Darko. Obviously, no one expected at the beginning of the season that the Raptors would be in the position they're in right now, a top 6 seed. No one anticipated that, that the team would function as well as they have defensively. I will give Darko his due on that front. And all the folks think I'm a Darko hater. I'm literally putting him in contention for Coach of the Year. I don't think he's going to win. I don't think he's got a shot. But I think the season the Raptors have had so far deserves some recognition, even with all the flaws and stuff we've discussed throughout the season. You got to look at when you look at the big picture, overall it's been a very positive season in a lot of different ways. So for Darko's perspective, having the team in the top 6 position, being actually not just being fairly competent as a defensive unit, considering the personnel he has on the team, kudos to him and my man coaches, Pat Delaney. Gotta give him some love, I guess, for the turnaround on the defense. So, we'll see what happens with less than 30 games left. But at this stage, that is a rationale for, if you're the Darko lovers, to give him consideration for rookie for Coach of the Year. Let's move to Mitch Johnson from the San Antonio Spurs. Now, right now, post Popovich, he's filling in some big shoes. He started from last year, but that was still a little different because there were still There were still thoughts that Pop would be back at some point. But Mitch Johnson's done a great job with the young squad he has. He's incorporated them beautifully with some of the vets that he has. And just the growth in this case, and full credit to the Victor in it as well. So I always give most of the credit to the player when I see improvement of the player. I know a lot of people want to think that the coach does everything. It's like, oh my gosh, he just spoke to him like, it's like he's an X-Men. He just spoke to him like a mutant and just fed in the information. But no, players actually do work, and they work damn hard at their craft. So props to Victor and whatever he did with the monks and whomever else he met. Hey, props to him. He's been fantastic. Castle's he's made a bit of a jump himself. And of course, incorporating the 3-guard lineup of Harper, Castle, and Fox He's done it pretty seamlessly so far. I still think a decision will have to be made at some point, but props to Mitch Johnson, what he's done with that team, having them right now as the #2 seed and looking like a very serious threat to get the finals, as they seem to have OKC's number. So that there is the props to Mitch Johnson. The third person, JB, my man, Bickerstaff. Detroit, and you can put it here, I'll put it at the top, give love to my boy Kenya and the crew at Basketball Rewind. In the offseason, we had a little bit of like prognostication of where we thought certain teams would be. And I was probably one of the few people that put my neck out there, made my Detroit love, wherever. But I said the Pistons should win 50 games and probably be a team that could be in the top three contention as a seed. And lo and behold, the Pistons make me look like a genius again, as the #1 seed, and at this point in the season have the best record in the league at the point. So Detroit, taking a 14-win team, to the #1 seed just a couple of years ago. Props to him. They've had injuries too. It wasn't like they were smooth sailing. They've been having injuries from key players, you name it, from suspensions with Stewart to injuries with Cade to injuries with Ivy, you name it. They found ways to kind of, keep the boat afloat, and not even that, to actually move to another level. And obviously Cade is taken to another level. We'll get him a little later, but Cade's been fantastic. The consistency, the ability to keep him as an honest broker on defense. I'm not saying he's going to be the next coming of Ron Artest or Meta World Peace, but like he's keeping him a guy in front of it and not really becoming a liability on defense as he was early in his career. So that is props once again to the player and Cade putting in that effort and that mindset, but also to Bickerstaff putting the belief in all his players that, hey man, you could get after it defensively. And then the growth of young players, which I always like to see. And from his standpoint, just like I said with Mitch, same thing here. Duran, jumping into an all-star caliber player now. And that's not so much that was a shock. He was a top 10 pick. You kind of expect that's a capability from a ceiling standpoint, but I think the way it's come about and the way it's happened, where at times this year Duran's had to carry the offensive load while Cade was hurt and Ivy was out, so it was really impressive. Facilitating. Obviously, he's always going to be on the boards and showing his touch around the basket, as well as kind of stretching it out offensively. So, Duran, Holland's grown as a player. Thompson's still a little work in progress on offense, but also too, he can get after it. So, JB, man, definitely, I think he's definitely in contention. So, we now, drum roll please, the winner of the inaugural Coach of the Year Beyond goes to the one and only JB Bickerstaff. I think this one here is a trouncing. It is a pretty much an obvious pick, but hey, I think, I wanted to give love to some of the other guys, but JB is your winner of Coach of the Year for the Beyond. #2, let's get to it. All right, what do we have next? Oh boy. Actually, I'll leave that till a second. Let's go to DPOY candidates. Defensive Player of the Year, always an interesting one. It kind of has a name for the Hakeem Olajuwon Trophy. You can understand why. So let's look at who we have. So I throw in here last year's reigning DPOY winner, Evan Mobley. And he's been solid as usual. Still a very strong defender, no two ways about that. You can never take that away from him. Be able to switch on smaller guards, be able to play, and handle himself in different spots. He's be able to kind of jump, pick and rolls, you name it. He's been great on that front. So, Evan Mobley, obviously shot blocking prowess. He's definitely someone you always have to have in contention every year in this category. So I'll throw him in there. Someone here, don't get me wrong, I always think that he was always going to be in contention for a DPOY, but I think not so much. I think the stat that I'm going to tell you in a moment is the reason why I am actually very impressed by what I see here from this perspective, and Kenya's going to enjoy this one, is his man Chet Holmgren. Chet has been a beast in this case from a standpoint of protecting the rim, shot blocking prowess as usual. He's still pretty good switching out with smaller players as well too. And this is the thing, you're going to see a trend here with all three candidates, where I think this is where the league is and where the league's going, where I think sometimes I've said this before, and I'll make my point a little later on when I get to that point, why I'm not too concerned about certain players coming up from the draft anymore for certain reasons. And you'll see why in a second. Chet Holmgren right now, the point and the stat I want to make, because I have also here looking at it here of how many games are remaining or allotted, because obviously you have the 65 game consideration. And by the way, just, is consideration. And that's the reason why certain other players might be a little more suspect when it comes to that. But nonetheless, Chet, 0 games missed at this point. Just want to mention it, 0 games missed. Like, if you had to tell me Chet Holmgren, and by the way, Brandon Ingram as well too, to give a shout out to him, as guys will be almost considered to be Iron Men this season. I would sit there and it's like, man, what are you smoking? So for Chet to have 0 games missed this year, holding down the fort while Williams has been hurt, SGA's had a few nicks, Caruso's been out different times. It's impressive. It's really impressive. So Chet definitely gets a nod as a potential winner of the inaugural DPOY Beyond. Now, last person, and this man will have to be on the list. In some ways, I think it's always, as long as he's healthy, it's his to lose. And that's the key word, key phrase, as long as he's healthy. Big Vic, Victor Wembanyama. Now, the issue with Vic is always the health. And right now, the games allowed remains, he's got about 3 games left, where he's right at the edge. So he's, next 29, 28 games, he's got to make sure to stay healthy for those games. If he does, we'll see, we'll see where things land. But he is a force of nature. Probably since Olajuwon, I don't think I've seen a player that has folks really looking over their shoulder as much as he has at any part of the court, right? That's the thing. That's the reason why I didn't mention, say someone like Dwight Howard or something like that, is that those guys usually got most of their blocks around the rim. The thing what makes Victor so special is that Victor can get his blocks just about from anywhere on the court. So you're always got you're always looking over your shoulder on where he may be if you're trying to shoot. And I don't care what anyone says, that, anyone played any sort of hoops at any level, that gets in your head when there's a shot blocker roaming and he can get to you at any point or any area of the court. So, drum roll, please, as Will Smith would say. The winner of the DPOY, inaugural DPOY award for the Beyond will be my man, Big Vic, Victor Wembanyama. Enough said. All right. So we've got 2 down, 2 to go. Let's get into the next one. This is always a fun one. And me and the basketball rewind guys, Mouth, the North, we've been chatting this one up the last couple of days. Rookie of the Year candidates. Well. And this was really a good race. Some years is not a race. It's usually one guy and that's about it. And we just have the coronation for about mid-season. This year is a little bit of a run. I am of the opinion there's one guy that has started to separate himself from the bunch. Others don't think so as much, but I think that's what makes it all fun. So let's go into the nominees. Okay, nominees. A slashing guard, 6'4", 6'5" guard from Baylor. Plays for Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love. My man, VJ Edgecombe. You know me, if you follow me on Basketball Rewind with the draft talk, I'm a VJ man from day one. And boy, oh boy, he's making me once again look like a genius. He's a starter from day one for Philadelphia. He came out the gates putting up like 30 in his debut. He really hasn't stopped, at this point. The numbers say what they are. I mean, like we look at here, the splits, we got to look at 15.6 a game, 4.1 on the rebounds, 3.2 for the assists per game. He's hit huge shots. I think his clutch stats are right up there with some of the best in the league when it comes to hitting clutch shots down the stretch. He has no fear. He just won the All-Star or rookie, whatever they call it, Rising Stars MVP for his team. VJ is that type of dude. I am so looking forward to seeing what he does in the playoffs. If Philly gets in, I think they're going to get in, but he's fantastic. We'll see what he does moving on in his career. And I actually had him as potentially being the second best prospect coming out. Like when it's all said and done, he may end up being the second best player from this draft. I said that when he was playing in university. So that's how high I am of his talent and his abilities. Here's a man I'll go second option. Drum roll, second option. I would say this is a gentleman. I had no problem with him on one end of the court. Knew he would be fine on that end of the court. But I will give him full kudos. I was concerned about what it would be on this other half of the court, and that was the defensive side of the court. And the reason why is I saw the Houston game in the Final Four, and man, they were putting him on ice in this case. He was skating everywhere, and this is Con Knuppel. But boy, Con is, God, he's been the man, boy, right now in Charlotte. And for the turnaround as well, too, in a lot of ways. I mean, he got the advantage. I tell you, once again, listen, Raptor fans, listen, Darko, giving young guys opportunity early. Don't worry about the mistakes. I understand it's painful as a coach. Let it ride. And boy, the injuries helped out Charlotte in a lot of ways with Miller being hurt and, of course, Melo always being hurt. Knuppel got a ton of minutes, and my gosh, it's paying dividends now. He's almost averaging 19 a game, 5.5 rebounds because he's a big guard. That's another thing I did like about him from college. Had good size. You know me, I like a big guard. 5.5 rebounds and giving about 3.6 assists. So he could dish it out as well too. And we saw that in college at Duke. It's times when Cooper either was in foul trouble or hadn't played a game or two. Knuppel took the reins, essentially playing pseudo point guard at times, even when Proctor was on the court. So Knuppel has a lot to his game offensively, never a doubt in my mind. I just didn't know if he could keep in front of guys defensively. And he's proven so far to be able to do so. Charles Lee, props to him, getting a lot of guys that don't really get after it defensively or have limitations defensively. They're starting to get figured out, and they are on fire right now. El Fuego, for my friends in this case here that speak Spanish. He and the Hornets are moving right now, and now they put themselves in play-in possibilities, and they're a fun team to watch. They have been all year. I enjoy checking them out, for him as well, some of the other young guys. So, yeah, props to Con on this one. And, of course, we cannot have a Rookie of the Year discussion without doing this first. I salute the flag. Cooper Flag, boy. My man from Dallas. Give me almost 19 a game, 18.8. Yeah, I tell you right now, he'll average to over 20 by the season's done, folks. 7.8 rebounds, my gosh, and 4.4 assists. And to think some folks thought this guy would be a role player. I will not name names. You know who you are. My gosh. Folks lost their damn minds with that comment. I said this man, in this case, was going to be a trans, what do they call it in this case? What's the word I'm looking for? Transcendent, that's it. Player, just like Victor. And folks were like, well, no. I watched this man all year, and there's something about him. I even hear folks say it now, and I'm not saying anything wrong. Having a discussion with my dad the other day, last night about it. What Melo had said, as well as others have suggested. And so it's not like something that Melo said was kind of crazy. Folks have said that Cooper Flag, in this case, would have been maybe a top 5 pick, but not number 1 overall, maybe around the 5th or 6th mark in this year's draft. I'll tell you right now, I watched that young man play pretty much every game last year I could watch for him. I've watched guys play this year. I'll tell you straight, he's no less than the 3rd best player in this year's draft. And I still think he might be considered number 1 overall, even with AJ. Because Cooper Flag has an X factor that is hard to actually describe, but you know it when you see it. And that is the X factor, the stage presence, the understanding that he's the man and he knows what to do with it as the man. There's a lot of guys put up numbers, but ain't got the feel that they're the man. I know players like that. We've got some that played for this franchise that put up numbers or spectacular Hall of Fame level players. But don't have that X factor, that gene, whatever you want to call it, of being the man. And Cooper Flag, from the moment he showed up, heck, from high school, from the time he played in the U.S. trials for the Olympic team, he out here guarding AD, out here putting threes in AD's grill in scrimmages. He ain't fearing nobody. And when you see guys like LeBron going out and dapping him up after the game, real knows real. That's all I got to say. Cooper Flag, in my mind, we'll see. As far as I'm concerned, that dude's going to be a top 20 player. I said it last week. He's going to be a top 20 player by the end of the season, if not by the beginning of next season. You heard it here first on Beyond the Locker Room, folks. So when folks start telling you next year and they're on First Take and stuff like, I think, Cooper Flag, you could make an argument he might be one of the 20 best players in the league. And Windhorse is doing this, or wherever he's doing this, doing this. No. Just remember where you heard it first, all right? Last week and right here on Valentine's Day as I'm recording this. You heard it right here. Giving love from your man Beyond the Locker Room. True, I'm a Mavericks dude, but I know real. And real understands real. And real identifies real. Anyways, let's get to it. For your Rookie of the Year. Doom, 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 doom. For your inaugural Rookie of the Year Beyond, it goes to the one and only Cooper Flagg. As I said before, he's a man that I think by the time the season's done, he'll be averaging 20 a game, if not 20 plus a game. He is putting up monstrous numbers. Like when you hear numbers like this, the words, the names that associated with it are like LeBron James and Tim Duncan and you name it, and Michael Jordan. Like when you put names like the numbers like that, dude, you's the real deal. And with all due respect to VJ and Con, who I got much love for, I just espouse on how great their seasons are. By the time the season's done, I don't think this will be close, folks. But anyways, we move on. Now, for the last award of the night, or in this case, the day, we go to MVP voting, folks. Most valuable player. Always a contentious discussion. MVP. Now, this is where the 65 games plays into the most, it has the most factor. And the reason why I'm going to say this up front is that my top three does not include Luka Doncic, who in this case would qualify at this point here. He's got about 3 or 4 games to play with to make it. However, the other reason why I don't have Luka in this team is dropping like a stone in the standings at the moment. That's the other reason why I don't have him on the list. The other guy I don't have the list, you'll be sitting there going like, wait, hey, Beyond, man, you're such a hater to him. It's like, I'm not a hater in this case. I'm just looking at the team. And that is the Joker. Jokic is not on my top 3 list. And the reason why Jokic is not on my top 3 list is he's got 1 game left and he doesn't qualify. And that with about 29 to 30 games left, it's possible he gets through all of them. I'm not sure if he'll get through all of them. We'll see. Even if he does get through all of them, the team in this case is 10-6 without him, on the court. So for all these folks who are saying like, oh my gosh, Denver just fall apart without Jokic. We actually got to see the experiment for 16 games this year, and they were 10-6 without him. I'm not saying that overall they don't need Jokic. No, folks. What I'm saying is, I think there's a lot of other great players or really good players on this team that folks kind of just downplay a lot of times and think it's the Jokic show all the time. I'm just saying. So that's put into consideration. Plus, the other reason why is, and I'll get to the reason why is, I think these 3 players, stand out a bit more for what they're doing for their team success and what they're having for their seasons, which are career years in some cases. So here we go. Here's my top 3. All right. No, my third pick. I'm on that third pick. Let me put it this way. I'm starting here with the first pick of the 3. We'll see. Cade Cunningham, my man from Detroit. Now, missed games, he's only had 6. In this case, he has about 11 remaining. So he should be on pace for about 75 games. He should be okay. Cade Cunningham has been absolutely spectacular for the Pistons. As much as I mentioned about Duran's, applause for Duran, who's been fantastic, deserved the All-Star bid. But, Cade's obviously the engine that makes Detroit go, in the big picture. And his ability to distribute, I don't know how many double-doubles he had with assists this year. It's been fantastic. It absolutely, just crazy. The way he scores and scores so easily now. Like the first couple of years when he was in the league, which he's fine with young players, they're forcing their offense a little bit when they're offensive players. And that's understandable. The talent's not good as around them. But how he scores now, like what that offensive clinic he gave against the Raptors the other night, where it was like pretty much that stuff you see in this case, we see with like prime Jordan, prime LeBron, when they, where they're so efficient and they just know when to get their shots and where to get their shots. And it's like, okay, it's like, I'm tired of messing around. Let me put an 8-0 run here and call us a day. And I could go and rest up for the rest of the night. That's what that was the other night against the Raptors. It's a different level of play. And he has been fantastic for the league-leading Detroit Pistons, which also when you deal with MVP, that has to be in consideration, the team success. And, hey, what more can we say? The number 1 seed in the East, as of this moment, I believe they have the number 1 record in the league. He is that dude, Cade Cunningham. Now, second candidate for MVP. And this is probably the one that's going to surprise folks a little bit. But I'm going to give my man some due, man, because a lot of people like to hate on him. I don't know why. But, he's the real deal. He's been the truth to me all the time for them. Not, funny how you say the truth in this case here, considering he's from the same franchise. And that would be Jaylen Brown. He's only missed 5 games. So he's very safe as well, too. And he's always been kind of an Iron Man for Boston. He's been absolutely fantastic. The numbers he's put up this year offensively have been ridiculous, and you know he's going to bring it defensively. And the fact that, which I had said at the time, myself, Kenyon, and a few others, just a very few others, when Raptor fans were trying to dismiss us, oh man, Boston, oh my gosh, they ain't going nowhere. They're going to be in the play-in at best. It's like, I was like, okay, that's what y'all think. Okay. Y'all seem to forget they got another all-star player on that team that had not left. And I had a feeling a guy with a mentality like Jaylen Brown, he was just waiting for the opportunity. He was just waiting for this. And he is putting up and shutting up people. And let me tell you something. Jaylen Brown, you know, I said it about a month ago. I might have said it on Basketball Rewind. I might have said it on this very podcast. I think I said it on this podcast. I don't know what the numbers look like. I'm just saying the feeling I'm getting. This is a feel one, guys. I'm sorry. I don't have the stats with me. I'll leave that for you guys. You guys can put your comments on that when I say what I say. I think Jaylen Brown's having the best season of either Jay in their tenure together. Better than any Tatum season that we've seen. Jaylen Brown, I think, is having a better season this year than that. He's been absolutely unreal for them. And considering that they have really, I mean, Derek White shooting splits are just been atrocious this year. And yet still, you know, Pritchard doing his thing. No, I ain't saying that. But still, he is the number one option on a team that has really no other player that's really command the double team. And still, every night I look up, he's got like almost 30 points. I'm like, what the heck? Like, even against my Pistons, he's found ways to scratch out 25 to 30 points, which has a fantastic defense. Yeah, so Jaylen Brown definitely in the mix for MVP. And of course, you can't have MVP taught these days without 3 letters. SGA. And let me tell you, so he's missed 11 games. That's a little worrisome, but he's usually, you know, these days he's pretty healthy, so I think he's going to be okay. SGA, and considering where they are and how San Antonio's closing on them, he's going to be playing games. He's having another fantastic season. What is there to say? True, Chet is, held down the fort while he's missed some games this year, but when he's played, he's been sensational. Obviously, he's had to take on more of an offensive load with Williams being in and out of the lineup this season, Caruso being out at different times, so his defensive assignments that he's had to deal with has been a little bit more taxing at times, but he's still SGA. And what more is there to say with him at this point? He's definitely going to be up there as a front runner for SGA. So we'll see. We'll see what it's like. So, I don't know. This race is defined by a few things. I think it's defined by SGA's classic superstardom production versus Jaylen Brown's durability and his excellence, and Cade's overall excellence and just offensive wizardry. Let's put it that way. How he could manipulate the game to get guys in position for assists, as well as his scoring. So I'm gonna put this one. This is the toughest. I ain't gonna lie. This is the toughest one. But right now, at this point in the season, drum roll, please. Your winner of the inaugural MVP Beyond goes to Double C, my friend, Cade Cunningham. And here's the reason why. I think, I agree. Boston, no one expected it. I agree. Also, no one expected from Detroit. But the way Detroit's playing, they've jumped not 1 level, but potentially 2 levels. And this team could be in the finals in June. And how he's playing, as I said before, the best record in the league, and how he's playing, considering no Ivy for most of the season, he too doesn't really have a lot of double team options. During at times can command one, but not really fully. They're blitzing him quite a bit, and he's finding ways to make his teammates better. He's having a career season, and I would give it to him this year by a bit. As I said before, the other 2 guys, if they told me any of the other 2 guys won it, I got no argument with it. So it's really splitting hairs, but I give it to Cade this season. I think he's been fantastic overall, and as I said before, I could give it to any of these guys. I could make an argument. I did make an argument for all 3 of them, and it's been fantastic from that perspective. So, that's to give you just a sense of where things are and what my thoughts are for everything here. It's been a lot of fun, guys. I'm looking forward to getting into the rest of the NBA season with you guys in the playoffs, nothing like NBA playoffs. So, hey, you know to find me at Basketball Rewind Weekly. We get into it. And as always, you can find me on X, Facebook, Blue Sky, as well as Instagram. And as always, you can find me right here. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Appreciate the support. Keep it coming, guys. And once again, keep it locked. Peace. you.